I move for no man, no man, no man, no man, no man.
We'll call it a draw. Just a flesh wound, just a flesh wound, just a flesh wound, just a flesh wound, just a flesh wound.
All the way from Yas Island, it's Garry Tonon. What's going on with that muffin
What's up,
top?
dude? You're talking about this beautiful.
Did you just take a
beautiful-
shower?
No, dude. I was asleep like 30 minutes to an hour ago. And when I texted you was when I first woke up. So
Gotcha. Chris,
Yo,
bang bang.
bang
That's-
bang.
Dude, that's so stupid. It was funny.
Dude, you've never done, yeah, I can't believe you've never heard of bang bang or attempted bang bang. Come on, dude.
Okay, Gary, have you heard of not gang bang? I was gonna say gang bang
Oh, I've heard of gangbang before.
of bang bang.
May or may not have been participant, but that I will not speak on.
Have you heard of bang bang?
Bang bang. In what context?
Food.
Food? No,
It's-
I've never heard
yeah.
of that before.
So it's going out to eat at one restaurant in one genre of cuisine, and then going out directly to another restaurant and having another dinner of a different cuisine.
So it's interesting that you mentioned this idea. I didn't know it was ever a thing, but I had posted on social media, I think like a number of years ago, something about, because everybody does bar crawls, right?
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of different bars and this, that, and the other thing. But like, I'm a huge food guy. Like, I love eating and like I eat a shit ton of food. So I like one day I posted, I was like, hey, is there like a name for, or is there like a culture at all of like, let's just go to like a series of restaurants, like from like 6 p.m. on, let's just jump from restaurant to restaurant and eat a bunch of different food. And I couldn't find anybody to say, to have a name for it or said that they did it or anything like that. And I was very curious. So it's interesting that I figured it had to exist because there's a lot of fat kids out there like me. Maybe I'm not actually fat, but you know what I'm saying. I'm like,
I got
there
a
has
few
to be
guys,
somebody
man.
doing
We could run the town. I got a few
So-
guys.
Oh, yeah.
I've been doing
we gotta
this since college.
run a train on these restaurants.
Chris, I got a technical question for you.
Okay.
So every time you do another stop, do you just add another bang to it? So let's say that I go to 5 restaurants. Would I have to say I did a bang, 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 bang?
Correct.
Is that the way it works?
That is how it works. So if you did 3, you'd have to say triple bang, 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 or
Jesus.
bang squared, bang cubed. Yeah,
What's the most bangs you've done in one night?
3. And they're done 1
3.
3. Yeah. Like last night I did an all-you-can-eat sushi and then directly to a Thai restaurant, and I ate a lot of both.
That's gotta be tough, man. Because
Yeah, this morning was tough.
all you can eat sushi will fill you up, man. It's so much
Dude.
rice.
So much
So one of the
rice.
interesting things about sushi that I didn't know previously, obviously it makes sense with the rice, but I remember competing in like a big jiu-jitsu tournament back in the day. I think I was like a brown belt, and I was doing IBJJF World, and it was like the first time I was competing at a lower weight class. I was competing at lightweight, and previous to that, I was doing the weight above that. So everything was going great with my weight. I was feeling like I was close to being on point, you know, maybe like a pound over or something. I was just going to sweat it out before the tournament. And I'm like, oh, let's go eat sushi. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's pretty healthy, you know? Like back then I didn't do like, I didn't understand carb cutting and things. So I would just like eat healthier and like less calories in order to lose weight, right? I didn't have like a whole procedure with the salt and the water and all these different things. I was just like, oh, I'm going to like lose the weight essentially, right? There was no playing. So I have the sushi, and I don't think I had a crazy amount of it, like maybe like 2 rolls, and you know, I'm drinking water and stuff like normal, and I come back and bro, I'm like fucking 8 pounds over or something, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm freaking out
Oh
because
shit.
the rice holds on to so much water. So
Mhm.
I'm like, oh shit. So I wake up the next morning, I do like a hot bath, I do all these things, and all of a sudden I'm like 5 pounds under, you know, because
Wow,
it
that's
wasn't
crazy.
the weight. It's just that the rice holds on to it, and you just piss it out over time. It's not like a real thing, you know.
So what goes into like prepping your body for a weight cut? Because I was hearing all of this fight week that Jorge Masvidal didn't prep his body for a weight cut, and that was like the big difference.
Well, I mean, you take a fight on 6 days' notice. If you're doing a big cut, and you're not preparing your tissue to dehydrate.
How do you prepare your tissue?
There's a whole process of, one, you got to get as lean as you possibly can, because body fat you can't play with. The body fat, adipose tissue doesn't hold any water. Muscle tissue does. So throughout camp, a fighter will get leaner and build lean tissue. So the bigger muscles, bellies they have, the more water each the muscle holds. But fat, you can't do anything with. That's just there. So if you have body fat, that means you just have to lose more water than you normally would, right, to make up for the fat that's there. So the idea is to get as lean as you possibly can, so there's no body fat to get in the way, and then just pull the water out of your lean tissue, which should be bigger now because of your training camp. And also there's a process of like hyperhydration, where you're loading up, water loading, which prepares your tissue to go from that hyperhydration state to dehydrated, and then you can step on the scale and get right back to where you were. It's kind of like you gotta think of it like a balloon sponge method, right? You gotta like swell up the balloon, squeeze it all the way out, and then wring it out like a sponge, and then it's gonna fill back up.
Chris, how do you feel about this? Because this is something I've had a thought about for a long time that I haven't really seen too much literature on. I've seen literature on lowering the salt intake as well as the increase in water, again, to try to basically trick your body into pissing out more water, right? So my thought process was, okay, if that works, would it be beneficial to you prior, so that you could lose more salt potentially and trick your body into getting more salt and more water out of your body? Would it make sense? Obviously, you'd have to do this ahead of time, to salt load first, and then do the full depletion after the salt loading. So like maybe you spend 3-4 days eating things like fucking beef jerky and soup and stuff like that has a shit ton of sodium in it. And then once that's
actually a method that people use. So that can work. That is one kind of method to do it. There are guys that completely deplete their salt and they drink a ton of water literally up until the weigh-in. Your body just doesn't hold it. So with no sodium and electrolytes, I know guys that drink 2 gallons the day before the weigh-in. I don't do it that way, but I know a lot of guys that do that. And they really completely deplete their electrolytes, so they don't hold the water at all. That method that you're talking about too, that's another way to do it too, is kind of prepare the tissue for that, that having like a hyper solute in the solution. Like the salt is the solute. That's what's going to hold on to the water. It's not a bad idea. I've seen that work as well. I've seen all of them work. I've seen all 3 of those methods work.
Because when you do that, there's, and I don't exactly remember, because I mean, when I went to school, this was a long time ago. But from what I remember, when it comes to salt and electrolyte balance, there is I don't know if it's a hormone or exactly what it is, but when you have too much salt, your body, it tells your body, hey, you got to get rid of that shit in your urine. And when you have too little, it says, hey, we got to try to hold on to as much salt as possible. So I figure like, hey, you salt load ahead of time. There's going to be some disconnect, at least at some point in time, where your body still thinks it's getting too much salt and it's getting rid of as much of it as possible.
So there's a hormone called vasopressin or antidiuretic hormone, ADH, and that's what has to do directly with fluid balance. So during the hyperhydration state, antidiuretic hormone means like diuresis is actually the flushing out. That's you pissing, basically getting rid of water. So antidiuretic hormone keeps that from happening. So that's what's normally making sure that you stay hydrated and you don't just completely piss out everything until you die. Antidiuretic hormone keeps you from dying, literally. So when you drink a ton of water, your body's like, oh man, the fluid balance. We have so much water. It's a concentration gradient, right? There's all this water in your system, in your tissue. Your brain goes, all right, stop the ADH. We got to get this out. Let it go. What happens is we're tricking our body into doing that, right? That's what the hyperhydration part is. We're getting our body to be like, whoa, stop the hormone. We need to get this water out. We're getting out. And you don't realize that you're dehydrated. Now you're drinking less water. And then by the time your body realizes it, it's too late. You do a workout, you sweat out what you have to with body heat, and then you make the weight.
So now that we're on the subject of holding in fluids, have you guys ever gotten like wasted in Vegas and then hit the buffet? Have you guys gone to those buffets?
Yeah, bro. Of course.
And then like puked afterwards? Like
I've never
ever eaten so much that you like have to puke afterwards?
I've never eaten that much. I've definitely gotten close.
I do have to say I'm a little bit more careful with my buffets, like leading up to like tournaments and stuff now. Not that I would be like eating large amounts of food at the buffet, but just attending a buffet in general, because I find buffets and like
I'm talking about afterwards. For like afterwards. I'm talking after like post fight.
Yeah. I was gonna mention something completely different, but that's fine. Fine, Frankie. we'll talk about what you want to talk about. Yeah, I've definitely.
I just had a
I've
question
definitely-
for you guys. It was just a question.
I was gonna get to your question.
Okay, gotcha.
I've got I definitely eaten enough where I fucking was throwing up in my mouth afterwards and stuff. It's been bad.
In your mouth or like the toilet?
Oh no, I've never eaten so much where I actually let it out, but I've definitely like eaten enough where like I go throughout the day and I'm like, then I have to
and
like,
you get like swallow it back down.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, I don't know why, but it's happened to me 3 times where, like after like a pool party or something like that, I fucking go to the buffet and just puke loads after the buffet, like just mountains of puke.
Well, you're probably
The only-
hungover / drunk / coming down off of ecstasy, so it makes sense.
I just thought that I just thought that was normal. I thought that was normal. Okay.
Do you recommend ecstasy for the fluid balance cut?
Yeah, Chris, how does that play a
Does
role?
ecstasy play a role?
That's awesome.
Gary, did you see Laura Sanko?
No, but I've been very closely following all of her Instagram posts.
If you see her, say what up. We're gonna have her soon on the pod.
I'll try not to just.
No,
drool
actually,
out
don't
the
say
side of my
what's
mouth.
up. You're fucking. You give off level 10 creeper vibes, bro. Don't
That's what
say
I'm
what's
saying.
up.
You probably don't want me interacting with it. But I did forget, Frankie. I was wrong. There was one time that I threw up. I just didn't attribute it to eating large amounts of food.
I
It was
fucking knew it.
the only time I've ever thrown up from drinking before. We went to Vegas, and I was actually with my buddy Greg Una. He's like, oh man, we'll take care of you out there, whatever. So he sets us up with like a table, and there's bottles that you can choose from, and he's like, well, what do you want? And I look at the list real quick. I like felt like I was kind of rushed. I forget what was going on, and I'm like, oh, I'll just have like a bottle of Jameson. But little did I think to myself, it's like Jameson is not something that other people are going to drink, right?
Enjoy.
Like it's kind of like only a few people are really interested in having Jameson, and there's only so many things you can mix it with. So basically what it was is like me and Greg were the only ones drinking this bottle of Jameson. I felt bad because I didn't want to, of course it's all fucking super expensive and shit. I felt bad. I didn't want to like fucking waste it on him. So he's like going shot for shot with me or whatever. But before you know it, I got a bunch of it in my system. Probably like half the bottle's gone, etc. So I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, like I'm talking to my buddy Murdad who's out there with me. So we got a fucking crew. And Murdad, one day we should have him on this podcast. Probably one of the most grimy human beings I've ever met in my entire life. You'd love
What's his name? Who?
Murdad.
Murdad.
Jensen.
We'll get Murdad and Greg the Keg on here.
Yeah, or dude, I think even Vin the Chin would probably be a good pairing with Murdad. They would have a fucking ball.
Yes.
Dude, I was thinking maybe we could get Renato and him have a debate on who's like bodied more girls.
It would be great because there would be. I would love to see Vin like talk to him, because I would imagine Vin's character would like not understand the words that Hanato was saying, because
I think we would need.
He'd
I
be
think
like,
we would-
"Speak English, motherfucker."
Yeah, I think we would need a translator for both.
I would love to see the Chin bounce off anybody. Like he's like a fucking ping ball machine.
Chris, I love how you just casually took your shirt off, just for no reason.
It's hot in here, dude. I'm sweating through my shirt.
I mean, it wasn't casual for me.
I was like, oh, Gary's telling a story. Hold on, let me.
That was real good.
Yeah,
Let me distract
You
him a little
distracted him. He fumbled his words a
his
little
story
bit.
a little bit.
Good.
Shit. Gary, so tell us a little bit about Fight Island, man. I'm so curious. Like, how is it?
Man,
Give
such
us a
crazy
little
experience.
behind the scenes, bro.
Such a crazy experience, and I know Chris has gone through some of this stuff too, so maybe he can compare and contrast like what the boxing world is going through and what you're doing here in the UFC. All right, so first things first, we show up in Vegas. We have to take a chartered flight out there because there are no commercial flights to Abu Dhabi or really like most places in the Middle East right now. That's part of the reason I can't fight in Asia. Like they're starting to have events now. They're having one in I don't think I can get out there. I don't think there's any commercial flights available. So we go to Vegas where we have our test as soon as you go through the hotel. And they are doing, thank God, they're doing throat swabs now instead of that fucking thing that goes through your nose, because that terrifies me. So they do the throat swab, whatever. And then we go into our hotel room. Well, little did I know, as soon as we do that, we can't fucking leave. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna go on Tinder or Instagram and I'm gonna find some girl to hang out with me in Vegas. Nope.
Well, Gary, on the last podcast, you gave us a tutorial on how to escape your room or how you were planning to escape,
Yeah.
where you unscrewed the little thingies.
I was thinking of trying to unscrew things. I didn't end up doing it. So I'm thinking of doing that, and it doesn't, it doesn't work out. They're not letting anybody in or out. They're policing. I didn't want to ruin things for Ryan, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hang tight. I sent food, like I told you guys, to the wrong location, like a retard, and had to buy new food. So then after their test comes back negative, which not everybody's did. I mean, Frankie's opponent tested positive. This other guy the other guy we out here. Well, Gilbert Burns tested positive like way before this, but I think his corners tested positive or something too. So this other guy, Jared Gordon, that he used to train in our camp at Henzo Gracie's, he's out here too. But all of his corners were like the same corners of Gilbert. So his corners couldn't show up. He has no corners out here. So what I was gonna say, we're probably gonna help him out, but. Point of the matter being, like, there's a bunch of people that tested positive, right? So, all of them were out. I don't know if they filled in, replacements for certain people, this, that, and the other thing, but, there's a lot of missing people. So then we get on this flight, and so we basically just get transported straight to the airport. We're on this flight, very empty because it's a chartered flight, right? So the only people that are on this flight are fighters. I didn't even realize they were doing this. I guess there's some media personnel and stuff like that they have on the flight as well. So there was a decent amount of them, but we all basically had our own rows.
Was it comfortable from Vegas to Abu Dhabi?
Oh yeah. Like I said, like I was in coach. All the fighters were in business, but I could still lay down because there was nobody next to me.
Dude,
how long is that flight, Gary?
They flew all the fighters in business?
Yes.
Fuck, dude. It's pretty penny.
It's good. What were you saying, Chris?
I mean, they always did that for us too. How long is that flight?
But you're the main event, Chris, not a fucking undercard.
Like 15.
I mean, but it's a charter. It's not like a.
Yeah, they had enough seats because.
I guess. Okay, I got you.
It was like 15 hours, I think, roughly.
That's a serious flight.
Long flight, dude. It was good, man. They were like very nice.
Anything over 13 is like that's fucking long.
Fuck.
Etihad Airways is like probably one of the best like airlines ever. The people there were like overly polite. Like it's like almost too much. You like feel uncomfortable with how polite they are. Like
what was the airline? Because the Asian airlines
Etihad.
are. What was the airline?
Etihad.
Okay.
It's one of the UAE like airlines or whatever. I think there's two of them. I think it's Etihad and I can't remember the other one. There's two of them, but. Anyway, super nice. Sometimes they have huge planes that are like double deckers, like the business class is on the top and then the economy is on the bottom, and there's like a velvet staircase and stuff. Like
and they got bars and shit. They walk around.
Yeah, they don't even have. It's not even
there's a hip hop room and a house room.
There's like more than business and first class. Like first class there's like a step above that where you get like your own apartment on the plane.
That's crazy.
Where you have like a shower and like a fucking hotel room and shit. It's crazy. So we weren't on that plane. Like we were on one of their, I guess, like the smaller ones because there's not enough people. But I fell asleep once and they didn't deliver a meal to me. And like when I was weak, they sit next to me and they're like, listen, sir, you were asleep when we were handing out the food. We are so sorry. We're so sorry we didn't get you your food. We're going to give you double the food now. Like you can have the food now and then the food that you missed before. And I'm like, and they're like, we're so sorry. We apologize. And I'm like, what's happening right now? I'm like,
and Gary and his dad thought the stewardess wanted to smash.
And Gary's like,
it was like literally listening to somebody who was abused or something. Like talk about their like, I'm sorry, like please don't do anything, please don't complain to my manager, I don't want to get killed.
So this chick she was sitting next to you waiting for you to wake up just to talk to you and say that she could deliver your meal. That's beautiful, amazing.
That whole experience was cool. So now when we arrive, man, there's like 50 people in hazmat suits with spray bottles and hoses and shit. And they're fucking spraying down the luggage and like with
disinfect you down.
Sorry, no, they didn't spray us down. Thank God. but they're spraying down the luggage with the disinfectants and stuff. Like my bag was soaked with disinfectant. And so like one of the bags I couldn't even get because they weren't done spraying it. So we go into the hotel room. They like distance us. Only a certain amount of us can go in at a time. Masks have to be up, right? Then they process our passports. We get into the rooms. Now, once we get into the rooms, it's the same story as Vegas. Oh, actually, before we got into the room, sorry, we had to take another test. So we had to go to a testing center. When we get to the testing center, it's like 100 people in hazmat suits all over the place. It's like a weird thing, man. Like people said it was like there's like that. What's that cartoon with I don't know. There's like a bunch of fucking little tiny minions or whatever. It's like something like that.
Minions.
Oh yeah, Minions. Yep.
So
the yellow thing.
So you've been tested a total of how many times?
Now I can't even count, but maybe 4 or 5. So we were tested like pretty much every day. We just stopped testing I think yesterday or something. And now we have to get tested again like 2 or 3 more times. Like the day of weigh-ins, which is tomorrow, for Ryan, we have to get tested. And then I think the day of the fight, we might have to get tested as well. And then after the fight, before we go home, we got to get tested to make sure they're not going to put us on a plane with everybody. You know, although we're in a community where nobody has it, they're still just really being really careful. So it was wild, dude. Now we're in the hotel room for like 2 days and
Quarantine.
Can't leave the hotel room, nothing. Like, and it was a strict 48 hours. So we arrived at 3 a.m. at the hotel.
Can you mingle with the rest of your team or no?
You're not supposed to, but like the fact of the matter is like our room is right next door to other guys' rooms. So you're not allowed to use like the fight room yet. Like they have like a training room like with mats and stuff. You weren't allowed to use that. But of course, like, you know, we found ways to train. Like we weren't gonna sit out hours and not fucking train. Same thing when we were in Vegas. Like we snuck into Ryan's room to do some drills and stuff like that.
You lifted up the mats.
Because like, dude, these guys are cutting weight. Like, you know, what are you gonna do? You're gonna spend 3 days of that weight cut just not doing anything? Like no pads.
I saw
most guys are training twice a day at that time.
I saw some of the dudes training in the halls and like doing mitt work on the halls. Yeah.
So I think after the first quarantine in Vegas, like some of the guys were training in the parking lot and stuff. They were allowing you, you know, after it tested, you know, negative or whatever. But anyway, yeah, so we found ways to deal with it. But then after the third day at 3 a.m., you know, or second day at 3 a.m., however you want to look at it, they gave us a wristband or whatever, like I have on now. And now you're allowed to kind of freely walk throughout the hotel and stuff. And there's a couple different places you can go that are kind of cool. Like there's some cool stuff to do. You can get into a race car and fucking drive around a racetrack with a race car driver.
Whenever you want?
You have to pay for it. Like it's like an excursion.
Okay.
You know, treat it like a cruise, right?
Gotcha.
Like if you're on a cruise, like you get off the boat and then you can go do excursions and you have to pay for them. Same sort of thing. It's super cheap though, dude. I'm telling you, I got in a race. How much did it cost, Jim? Dude, like it was like $30 to get in a race car with a professional race car driver and get driven around.
Yeah.
I mean,
whoa.
Why, dude? I mean, that's crazy cheap.
That's awesome.
They said it should probably be more like 300, but I guess they're lower in the because everything going on.
Yeah, because they're like they're doing it for you guys.
Yeah, they want to keep you guys happy.
So
they have a golf course here. They have a beach here. They have a pool and stuff, but we're not allowed to use like pool sauna. Nothing that like commingles people, like, you know, breathing on it. You know what I mean? I guess it's
so when you went to the pool area, you just laid out. That's it.
Yeah,
you couldn't really go in the water.
You can go in the ocean. You can go in the ocean because it's not like a closed body of water. The ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah, just yesterday I was in. Dude, it's hot as balls out here, man. 120 degrees.
It's like a sauna, huh?
Oh, Jesus. 120.
Bro, I look at the UV index. What does the UV index usually go to? Do you guys know about the UV index?
When it's really high, it's like 11 or 12.
But usually, like in the States, it's like a 1 to 10, and like it very rarely goes over a 9, right? Like in New Jersey, it's like a 9 in midsummer. Like that's usually like a really high UV index number. 10 is supposed to be kind of like the maximum, but like out here, it's a 12 every day. I didn't even know 12.
Yeah.
Gary, what is that wrist?
Up in this bitch.
Gary, what does that wristband cover?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you get with that wristband? Like, do you get any perks?
Well, I mean, you're just allowed to
all
move
inclusive.
The
Do they give you free food?
Hotel. There's a couple different things you get for free. You get 3 meals a day for free.
Okay.
Just delivered to your room. And then there's one restaurant here that you can go to, and there's certain things on the menu that are free. and then certain things that are at like a slightly reduced price. Like I had most of the time I was eating the free food, but yesterday I splurged and I decided to get like what was it? I think it was like prime rib or something, and I got that for like $10, right? Because it was reduced.
How was it?
It was good. Yeah, it was great.
Is the food like really good or like whatever?
Yeah, I'd say most of the food's pretty good. Like the food that they're delivering to your room is like, it's definitely way better than like what you would imagine. Like like late at night, if you want to order food, like 3 a.m, for instance, like I ordered like a salmon, and like it's like real food. Like a lot of times when you order late night food at a hotel, it's like the only things available are like
a sandwich.
and, like,
it's like bar menu food. Usually.
It's like, we got hot dogs and sandwiches.
Here at any time of day, you could order pretty good food. So I'm a fan. I don't have any problem. So what else can you do? That's like pretty much it. I mean, like I said, there's like a sun deck where there's a pool and stuff, but it's, you're still pretty kind of like stuck in a particular area. You're not allowed to like.
Are you feeling like some cabin fever?
Oh yeah, man. Like even being able to move out and about a little bit and go to these different places, it's just, there's a weird sensation you have when you're told you can't leave like a certain area. You know that you're like trapped, and like it puts your mind in like a weird place.
So your boy Babyface is fighting on Wednesday, and then you leave Thursday?
So out here, he's fighting at 6 a.m. on Thursday, but out by you guys, it's 6 p.m. Wednesday or 7 p.m. Wednesday.
That's so
but are you guys leaving immediately after?
So we leave. So he fights 6 a.m. Thursday out here, and we leave 6 p.m. Thursday. For example, I watched the fights. I guess it's technically yesterday for us. I don't know if it's yesterday for you guys, but it would be. So I watched the fights yesterday, and I went to like the beach or something like right after they were over. And by the time I came back, I saw like Holloway getting ready to leave to go to the airport. Like I saw him.
Where did you see the fights?
We just watched it on an iPad or whatever. We couldn't watch like in the arena. Not to my knowledge.
There's no hotel bar or anything like that?
There kind of are bars, but they aren't showing the fights like on a broadcast or anything. At first we thought that they were. They do have channels out here for MMA, but I don't think they're streaming the fights live on TV.
Okay, now I have another very important question.
Which I thought they might, but they're not. I don't think.
Is there alcohol available?
There is. It's officially illegal in Abu Dhabi.
Really?
But I guess like within the resorts and stuff like that, it's like you can have it. So they have some really interesting rules over here. So technically, at any given point in time, even if I'm here in this hotel, if I had alcohol, technically they could arrest me, like legally, like they're able to, because it's illegal. And in order to be able to drink alcohol, you have to have a special like permit or something. But the only people that can get permits to drink alcohol in Dubai, or sorry, not Dubai, Abu Dhabi. The only people that can get the permits are residents of Abu Dhabi. So I'd have to have like paperwork, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes on where sometimes people aren't aware of the rules, or like maybe they step on the toes of somebody who they shouldn't have stepped on, and they can end up going to jail for a certain amount of time because they broke the rules.
So see, right there, that's a deal breaker. I don't think I'll be going to that place.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're very
Chris,
strict about other drugs though, like CBD, even not just weed, is super illegal here. And thank God I found that out before I got on the plane, because I had like a little bottle up from CBD distillery, or CB distillery, with me, and I'm like, oh shit! I was just reading the email. I'm like, I threw it in the garbage. It's the last thing I needed to get arrested for that.
I know. Chris shares my opinion.
Oh, I'd be in jail. I would either sneak something or whatever. I'm like, sorry, fucking lock me up. But hold on.
I mean, the thing is that I think as long as you're like kind of like nice and polite and you're not like a dick, I don't think that would ever happen to you. Like, let me give you an example. So here's what some of the things that I read. I read that so basically, like, most of the time none of those rules are really enforced, like the drinking rule and things, because like it's available, right? Like you can go to resorts and things and get it, right? So most of the time that's not enforced. I think it's like kind of, unless you were kind of like a real big dick to somebody who you shouldn't have, like somebody who's higher up on the chain. and then they start enforcing the rules. So there was an example, a story that I read where a guy like bumped into somebody at like a nightclub or like a bar or something, and that guy was like later arrested. There was a story where a guy flipped somebody off while he was driving, right? And because he like cut him off or something, and then that guy was traced down. Like he was in a rental car, but that guy was traced down and put in jail. So like I think there's like, if you're kind of like, keep to yourself and you're like just you're doing your thing, I don't think it's like a big deal. But it is, of course, it's still a possibility. I guess it's too much for some people, but
Dude, that's crazy. Like when I was at Lynn in Boca Raton, all the Arabs used to make it rain with champagne. Like that was their thing. Just make it rain with champagne at the clubs and
sure.
So
Well,
it's like,
I mean, it is what it is.
so they do it. They do it when they leave their country, but they can't do it in their country.
They do it on holiday.
Oh no, they could probably do it in their country too. Like that's the thing. It's like it's kind of a very selective. They can choose to enforce it and they can choose not to, right? So like they probably drink here too.
You're confusing me, Gary.
I'm just telling you what the law says, and they occasionally enforce it.
Yeah, I can't imagine all the Americans and Brits that go there not drinking. Like they gotta allow it
That's
somewhere.
the thing.
Gary,
They do. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
When you get a chance, go to the concierge and ask her or ask him that question, and then come back to us with a specific answer.
Dude, I'm giving you the specific answer.
He gave us. We got the answer. You got to read between the lines over there, Frank.
They serve alcohol,
You
but
just-
occasionally
you said you can drink, but you might go to jail.
you might. That's the truth.
Well,
I gave you a very real answer.
What are my odds? I don't like gambling. What are my odds?
It depends. Are you going to be a dick while you're here and fucking, kick somebody in the balls?
No, not at all. I don't.
All right, then you're probably not going
I'm
to
a
jail.
peaceful
Your
person,
odds are
man.
very good.
Okay.
But
I might
what was
consider
I
going.
gonna say? There's also a rule where, like, let's say you met a girl in a club or something like that, and you wanted to bring her back to your hotel. And this is also a rule that they're supposed to not enforce, but it's a possible rule they could enforce. If you don't have a marriage certificate and there's a man and a woman staying in the same place, you can go to jail for that as well.
So you can't fuck? Where?
I guess not.
Hold up. I got a
Chris,
little.
I think we lost your audio, by the way. Unless you just made.
Mateo,
Yeah, we lost your audio, Chris. What?
Did you see me put on my mask real quick?
Did you?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No.
It's just my kids got corona.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every time
that's
he
right.
gets
You were
close to me, I pop that shit. Every
You were
time he gets
telling-
close to me, I pop it on.
Yeah, that's funny.
But he's
How he doesn't actually have symptoms though, right? Does he?
no, he's asymptomatic.
Yeah. How did you just guys all got tested and you found out?
Yeah, we all got tested because his little cousin, which he hangs out with her like a lot, she had corona, and we're
Yeah.
like, maybe she gave him corona. And
Sure.
then we tested him, and he was positive. And dude, we had such a logistical mess because we had a baby on Friday.
Yeah.
And
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you. So she couldn't come back to the apartment. She had to go to her mom's house with the baby. And now I'm here quarantined up with this little COVID
Good
motherfucker.
news is, I'm pretty sure, and obviously I'm not a scientist, but this is just what I've heard.
You're
that
close to one.
It's very unlikely that someone asymptomatic, especially a child, passes it on to an adult. Their viral load is much lower or something like that. It's just less likely. So that's some good news for you.
Yeah, I heard that, but thank you for validating it. I feel safe. Yeah, man, that's why I've been drinking out of my goblet.
That's
See that?
beautiful. I love that thing, man.
I like
I've been
to
thinking
feel.
about buying some crazy I don't know what would you call it, glassware or something, because I've seen some stuff where they'll sell like fucking bull horns and stuff like that attached to like a glass or something. And
Yeah,
I
I
was thinking-
feel with that haircut, something like this would suit you very well.
I know this is the true like what they used to do, the fucking Vikings and stuff like that. They'd have like mullets and mohawks and all that kind of stuff. That's where these haircuts came from.
I know. I wish I could get one like that. It's beautiful. And just drink out of my goblet all day and feel like Like I just came back from a raid. Dude, you're all the way in Abu Dhabi, and Chris is the one in LA having issues.
Yeah. Dude, so speaking of the fucking how hot it is out here, I don't know if I really could explain it. Man, you can't. So you might worry to yourself with a UV index of fucking 12 and like it being 120 degrees that you're going to get burned. You physically can't stay outside long enough for it to happen. Like because it's just so uncomfortable.
You'll probably like puke before you get sunburned.
Yeah. I try to stay outside for like an hour. Dude, anything over an hour, I'm like, I gotta fucking get back inside. I can't do this. Even just sitting outside in the shade is fucking awful, dude.
You said it was 120?
It's 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So Celsius, that would probably be like, I'm guessing what, 45 or something?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Is this? That's funny that you called them Jamie, like Joe Rogan's Jamie.
Exactly.
You look that up for me, Jamie? We have a Jamie now.
Jamie's he's one of the Muay Thai guys out at Henzo's. He runs the MMA program there. So he's like I'm like kind of like Ryan's like grappling and like integral skill coach, and like Jamie's like his MMA like striking coach now. So
are you guys sharing a room?
37. Sorry. So it's 37 Celsius outside.
Are you guys sharing a room?
Yes. When we were in Vegas, we had separate rooms, but once we got here, we were grouped in together.
So I'm guessing Jamie's cool with you busting a nut in the bed. He's cool with you masturbating
discreetly
on your bed.
Of course.
Next to him. So he's just chilling.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta. Yeah. I insist. Yeah, he actually asked. He requested it. Speaking of which, you can't get porn out here. Like you have to have a VPN. Is the country like it doesn't allow it? I tried a bunch of different shit too, but because VPNs are kind of annoying sometimes. Like you have to like pay. Some of them are free, but so like I tried using a proxy. All the proxies are blocked, and like.
Dude, you want to hear something crazy? I was hearing that Pornhub, like most of the traffic comes from like Saudi Arabia.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So yeah, it seems like most suppressed countries are the ones that watch the most porn.
Well, I mean, you'd imagine, right? I mean, it's kind of like it's like this situation. Like I've mentioned this a few times in the past. So you know how in the 80s, like in most of the movies, like nudity was just like. It was pretty normal. Like it was in a lot of movies, like even just like family movies and stuff. You can occasionally see like a titty, like it wasn't really a big deal. And now we're making it even though we're in 2020, which everybody kind of believes that we're progressing to like a more and more risque kind of like, viewpoint in society. Like you don't see that anymore, really.
Dude,
like if you see nudity now in movies, it's like you kind of see the side.
You get canceled.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore.
Do you remember Porky's? Porky's?
Do I remember what?
Do you remember the movies Porky's? Porky's.
No.
You never saw that? He saw it. Jamie saw Porky's. Jamie knows what's up.
He was in it.
Oh, he was? He was an extra.
Yeah. He was actually the fluffer in that movie.
It's not a porn, Gary.
Every 80s movie was a porn, Jay.
Dude, so yeah, they would never be able to pull off some of the stuff that they pulled off in those movies.
Yeah, I don't think it's healthy, dude, because I think it turns it into this taboo, and then that makes it so much more of a weird thing. I think suppressing most normal things, like if you have something that everybody in society kind of desires, and then you try to suppress that, like it's naturally going to be brought out in weird ways, and like people are going to freak out. Stupid weird things.
It's just really hypocritical because kids now are so desensitized to like porn that they do really nasty shit to. If you see like some of the teenage series out in Netflix, you can't imagine like how raunchy and crazy they get. Like they're so degrading to females and it's just
How do you mean?
Like threesomes is nothing. Wait, hold on.
But as it shouldn't be, bro. What's up, man? You missed a great part of the conversation. Damn it. We just started talking about
restart my computer. Now. Talking about what?
We just started talking about threesomes.
We were talking about how movies don't show nudity nowadays and how old movies used to show a bunch of nudity. And then I was telling Gary that the series that you find now for teens in Netflix is fucking, it's all about threesomes and gangbangs and drugs, and they're like insane. So it's very hypocritical.
I mean, dude, I on some level, like, I mean, I just feel like we should just be much more accepting of like different like sexual preferences and like, you know, weird shit. Like we should talk about it more. And it's like, I think that by like trying to hide it in any way, like even though porn is like a huge thing, everybody fucking watches it. And like we were just saying, like, you know, people are, talking about it on these like shows or whatever. It's like, it still becomes a thing. Like if I come out and talk about the fact that I watch porn, it's like weird, you know, like that's still a strange thing for me to come out publicly and say, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I would say the majority of the world, if you had asked them in a public setting, if they thought like porn was okay or like was something that that people should watch, they'd probably say no. But meanwhile, like the majority of the world obviously watches it.
If you told me you didn't watch porn, I would think you were really fucking weird.
Correct.
And that's the reality of it. Like, and I think most people would think like that.
So there's two things, alcohol and porn. If you don't fit one of those two, then you can't be my friend. I don't trust you.
I cannot disagree with you. I cannot. I think you're onto something there. I hate people like, oh, I don't drink. Like, I'm like, oh, why?
That's it. Life lessons right there.
Why?
You guys wouldn't have been friends with me in my younger years.
Were you like a little dork, Gary?
I watched porn, but I didn't. I wouldn't drink because of my dad shit, you know. But
well, that's understandable, but
that's a good reason. At least.
Everyone finds their course in life, and you did.
Yeah.
You know.
But to Gary's point, I actually just read this book this weekend. Well, I'm almost done with it. It's called On Killing, and it's about like guys at war and like the psychological effects of having to kill your own species. And he kind of likened it to like killing used to be something that was everyday life. Like if you lived on a farm, you all lived in the same place, you had like the kids had to go out and go wring the neck of a chicken, bring it in. Like death was a big part of everyday life in our world. Yeah. And at one point, everyone used to sleep in the same room. So sex was also a big part of, you know, your parents slept in the middle of the room and they would have sex in the middle of the room with all the kids all around it.
Right next to you.
It wasn't taboo. It wasn't taboo at all.
Now it's like some kind of fucking weird thing. Oh my God. You know, the kid walked in on his parents having sex. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm sure he was a little uncomfortable with it, but fuck, man. That's part of life. Fucking grow up.
I did that 100 times when I was a kid. My parents made no qualms about, you know, having loud sex, like while like we had friends over, whatever. It was no big deal.
Sure.
Wait. Hold up, Chris. Hold up. I got some questions now. Mm-hmm. Your dad would just lay pipe in front of like, not in front, but with a lot of people in the house? In
high school, I remember where everybody used to come to my house to watch boxing fights because we had HBO and we'd watch the fights. It was like Saturday night, and we're all sitting on the couch. And it was my senior year of high school. We were pretty grown, and it was my boys and like all our girlfriends were all watching the fights, whatever. And then we start hearing a creaking of a noise, and I'm like, I hear it, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm like, because I know I'm used to it. And then
he's like, I'm used to it.
My friend Aaron is like, what's that noise? And I'm like, Aaron.
You're like, it's the bone.
Don't bring attention to it. And then like we all kind of
my dad. Chris is like, my dad is working the night shift.
Yes.
My dad's paying his mortgage.
My dad's a plumber.
Dude, how funny would it be that then Chris's dad would walk out of the room in like a bathrobe and fucking start chugging on juice.
He would come downstairs. He would come downstairs and be like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And then go grab a beer.
Oh man!
With a
what are we watching?
It's pretty hot here today.
I was doing my exercises upstairs.
I'm so dehydrated.
Did I ever tell you guys the story of like when I was hearing my mom and my stepdad boning on the show? Because I've told the story to my friends many times. So my stepdad, I've told you guys many times, and I made this public. Like, he's a super nice guy. I love the guy to death, you know. But this is like in the early days of him and my mom dating. I still liked him back then. But so one of the times
you were still feeling him out.
Yeah. So there's 2 times that I can distinctly remember. Like, I have like, it's like burned into my brain that I remember them banging. Even though that I know it happened a number of times. I definitely heard it, but there was 2 moments where I guess it like stuck with me a little bit more because it was a little bit more the actual memory, like it like stuck with me more. Was the first time was like one of the first few times I slept over his house, like while my mom was staying there. And I met like one of my stepbrothers for the first time or whatever. We're all fucking playing video games and shit. And he's got a friend over. And me and my sister are like sleeping on the couch. But like, I'm not like really tired or whatever. Like, I'm still like awake. And I think he was in his room or something with his friend. And you just start hearing exactly what Chris was saying. You're just hearing like a creaking, right? And like, then you hear my mom fucking like moaning, oh, you know, whatever. And like, I'm smiling and laughing or whatever. But then I hear like my stepbrother being like, oh my God, do you hear that? Like from the other fucking room. They're like laughing.
He's like, bro, that's your mom. My dad is doing that to your mom.
Well, he wasn't in the same room with me, but he was like laughing with his friends. You know what I mean? So I could hear him laugh.
Did you put him on it?
And then
did you put him in
the second
chokehold?
time? The second time was way better. So I was dreaming, right? Like, I'm asleep, and in my dream, this kid that I hate from fucking high school is taking a piece of chalk and he's smashing it up against the fucking blackboard, and I'm all angry about it. I'm like, fuck this kid. I was like, I'm gonna fucking knock him out. So I walk up and I'm like ready to yell at him or whatever. And just as I start this confrontation with the kid, I fucking wake up. And I'm like, but I still hear the noise. I'm like, wait a minute, I was dreaming that noise. I'm still hearing the fucking chalk smack against the fucking wall. So I finally come to and realize it's my mom banging in the other room, and it's like the headboard like smacking up against the wall or something and moaning. But I had a friend sleeping over. Like, I had a loft bed, so the friend was like sleeping underneath the loft bed, and like the next morning he's like, bro, did you hear that last night or whatever? And
your mom banging literally woke you up from a nightmare. I want to meet your stepdad, bro. He fucking does work. Son,
he
fucking blew the roof off that place.
I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him.
Dude, Garry,
like, dude, it's
you know what? I have a slight feeling that your mom listens to this podcast. I honestly think she does.
Oh, she definitely does. She definitely. I guarantee it, because she likes to consume all that is anything that I do. So I guarantee.
My mom's the same way. If my mom technologically understood how to listen to this, she'd be all over.
Oh my God, that's hilarious, Garry. That's an awesome story.
But again, it's like, it's normal. It's like fucking life. And like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it's very healthy, very healthy.
The fact that nobody really sat me down and talked to me about like sex and things, like, you know, my dad never fucking really talked to me about it. My mom, like, very briefly, we kind of had conversations, but nothing. You know, it would have been much better, I think, to like make it a real normal fucking thing to talk about, you know, and because it wasn't, it was something that like I had to figure out with my peers. And it's like, those motherfuckers don't know what the fuck they're doing. You know, It's another like 16, 17-year-old talking to me about fucking sex. It's like what kind of experiences do they really have? You know, so I think it's really important to like have these conversations, as uncomfortable as they may be, with your kids as they're starting to grow up, man. It's like, you don't want them trying to figure this shit out on their own, I don't think, like completely. Obviously, some of it they have to, but.
So I think we can all take a page out of your mom's book, Garry. So a big shout out to Laurel for having such a wonderful, healthy sex life. I think we could all learn from this.
I remember telling her.
Good for you.
I remember telling her afterwards, because my friends were making comments about it. I was like, hey, listen, like, I'm totally with you boning, like, go for it, you know? And I was probably like fucking 12 or something. I'm like, I'm totally with you, like banging, you know, I want you to have that in your life, but could maybe like when my friends are over, could you like tone it down just a hair? You know, like I don't care about the smacking headboard or whatever, but like, could you maybe not fucking scream into the night? You know, fucking maybe bite down on a pillow or something under fucking.
Chris, this explains a lot. This is Gary at 12 having this conversation
with his mom.
Yeah.
About his stepdad.
It explains a lot.
I'm so sorry. She's like, I'm so sorry. I can't control that, right? And I'm like, what do you mean you can't control that? Like,
fucking put a sock in your mouth or something. Muffle that shit up.
Get a fucking stick. Like,
are they still together, Gary?
Bite a pillow.
Oh, yeah. They've been happily married for a long time.
Exactly. Of course they are. I knew that was the case. Because that's what my parents have been married for fucking 100 years. And they're very happy.
Eyewitness News, where news comes first.
Have you guys seen the whole Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith fiasco? It's like blowing up.
About it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay,
I've seen some snippets. I don't know exactly what's going on.
Okay,
but
so
it
Jada
looks very
Pinkett
interesting
Smith,
and funny.
She came out and said she had an affair 4 years ago.
Okay.
On her talk show with Will.
Okay.
And everybody's making memes and making fun of the whole situation. Obviously, they were still together. They're still married, and so technically she did cheat in the relationship. And Will said basically that he was considering like ending the marriage back then, and they were kind of separated, but they were still married.
Sure.
So a lot of people are saying they're swingers. They have an open relationship.
No. I don't agree with that.
But they're saying they don't have that type of relationship, and that he was well aware of everything that was going on. But it's dude, I hate this. I hate that he's being put in this situation, because I know that he's bodied a bunch of bitches, man. Bro, there were rumors that he was like banging Margot Robbie on the set of Focus. You guys, have you seen that movie Focus? It's where he's like a con artist with
actually, I did see
Margot
that.
Robbie,
the movie sucked.
from Wolf of Wall Street.
You like it? Dude, I like that
movie
movie.
sucked. I like Margot. That movie sucked.
She's hot as shit.
And I like Will too.
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong movie. I don't know.
No, you probably are. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right, but man, Big Willie.
Big Willie.
You can't fuck with this guy like this, man. Like all these they're making a whole bunch of memes of Will and making fun. Like all these rappers are making fun of him.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like he probably like what's hard for me is that he's not talking about it on the other end. Like I'm pretty sure he's banged some other shit. Right?
Dude.
So it's like.
Yeah, but he's an OG. He's not gonna bring that up.
Dude,
he's just gonna be like, oh, whatever.
Gary, if someone ever wants a lesson on how to handle fucking situations like this, take a page out of this dude's book. That guy's bulletproof. He doesn't give a fuck.
Thank you. Yo, I would be the same way. I'm not giving up anything. Whatever. Make fun of me. It's cool.
And he's like,
I'm good.
And he's like, okay, yeah, you had the affair. Where our marriage was fucking almost ending. It's on you, blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't talk about his shit.
No. Smart.
Oh, no, he's good for life now.
I think that, like, when people look at these situations with, like, super high-powered celebrities, and they really believe that these super high-powered celebrities are not fucking boning different people, they're out of their I'm telling you, if you're looking at a group of people that are celebrities and they're really on a high level, it's a 1 in a million shot probably that they're actually faithful with one another. And that you really believe that these people with that amount of power and money are not, like, think about what basic human needs are, okay? Fucking food,
Bro.
sex.
And the schedule.
What's that?
And the schedule. Like, he has to go away for 6 months for a movie.
Sure.
Yeah, but they're also around other really rich, powerful, beautiful people.
Yeah, and girls are just throwing pussy at him.
Yeah.
Left and right.
Yeah, like, are you're just gonna like have access to like probably some of the world's fucking greatest experiences, and you're just not gonna partake in them? You really think? And then the funnier part to me is not only that they believe that these celebrities or these high-powered individuals are not doing it, but that they also wouldn't do it in the same situation. Fuck you. If you think you fucking wouldn't do it in the same situation, you don't know what that's like. You have no idea.
I have no
what
idea.
it's
And
like
and
to have
and the
fucking
reality
two
is that
paddles throwing themselves at you 24/7.
there's a very small group of people on this earth that will experience what he's
Correct.
experiencing, or what
Correct.
people like Justin Bieber or Justin Timberlake or all those A celebrities.
People live in a fucking fantasy land to believe that any of those people aren't living, the fullest extent of those of their possibilities, and their opportunities.
So listen to
did we?
this. I was Chris, not you, Gary.
No, I know. I just said,
okay.
did we? I didn't hear.
So I was listening to Justin Bieber's documentary. So he had like this YouTube documentary, and so Justin Bieber had like a mental breakdown because he was experiencing so much adrenaline release that his like adrenaline glands got burnt out. So I guess that caused like a hormonal imbalance and made him like super depressed.
So much adrenaline release? What does that even mean? From what?
So much
Just
like dopamine release from like
just
all the
being the fucking beebs.
bro from
just
like
fucking
imagine
laying pipe and fucking enjoying life.
you touring at fucking, I don't know, since you were 12 years old or 13 years old, every day, almost every day of your life, experiencing that high and just releasing all that dopamine. Just imagine what you feel during a match, or when you win the match, or whatever your high is, and doing that every day.
Sure. I personally think, though, that starts to, and I could be dead wrong about this because I don't live the life of fucking Justin Bieber. I obviously have no fucking idea. There's something, because I've had periods in my life, and I could choose to have, here we go. I could choose to have more periods of my life where I'm just enjoying things, right? Like I now have the money where if I wanted to go, this fucking guy, unbelievable. It's just as I was saying.
Sorry,
all
go
of this,
ahead.
I forget
Go
sometimes.
It's not a wine glass. It's a chalice, this asshole.
I forget sometimes that there's no, like, some people only listen to this via audio. Just so you know, the entire time I'm talking, Frankie is holding up a wine bottle and rimming it, just like tonguing an asshole while I'm fucking talking.
Deep tonguing a wine bottle and pouring it into a chalice with a skull on it. Not a fucking wine glass, a chalice with a skull on it.
For a kid with ADHD, this is rather difficult for me to deal with while fucking telling a story. So what was I going to say? I find that if I go on a long enough stint where I'm just enjoying life and I'm like, I go for like a week where I'm just going from party to party, or like I'm going out to bars or whatever the case may be. Like even more than a few days of doing that without having the working really hard and sparring and fucking like trying to work towards something, and you start to get numb to the experience. Like it's awesome, like right after a fight to like fucking go out, go to the strip club, whatever, or maybe like once a week or something. But dude, I feel like if I was living that life every day, it would be just like another day. It's boring. Right. It's boring. It's not. It's like you said, there are no ups without downs. Like if you're not experiencing suffering and pain and things like that on a very, very real level, it starts to become not as meaningful.
Gary, imagine you could have the best Saturday of your life, or the best like Friday of your life every day.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
That's the point.
I think
that's what I'm saying. That's why you got depressed. Let's like. Oh, I think we lost you, Chris, when I was saying this, that Justin Bieber got depressed.
No, I filled in the blanks, but no, I agree with Gary. Like you've got to struggle and have some suffering in order to reap the of anything. If it's just everything's easy, it's not fun. We're not wired that way.
Yeah.
It sounds cool to party every day and have a great time all the time, but honestly, like you said, I've done it, and it gets old super quick. I go on a 5-day vacation, day 3.5, I'm like, all right, I can't wait till I'm getting out of here.
Let's go back home. Let's fucking get to work.
I want to go back to working towards something.
Yep.
Bro, I just broke my fucking goblet, or my chalice.
Good.
You know what my
That's
fucking
what you get, you fucking piece of shit.
You know what my kid's doing? He's fucking timing me. I'm like, come back. I'm like, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And he's grabbing the iPod and he's timing 20 minutes. Can you fucking believe this shit?
That's good. He's smart.
No, he's being a little shit, bro. I just broke my chalice, and
How broken?
dude, like, okay, let me see if I can.
I threw some voodoo on you, bro, because I didn't like that chalice.
Fuck you. That was my lucky. My
It is
lucky.
like-
Look at
Yeah,
this
look
shit.
at that. Oh, dude.
Nice. Looks like you're bleeding out all over the floor.
Yes, he's got his period again. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
this is
Frankie's
this
water
is
just broke.
Fuck. God damn it.
To the
Damn
17 people that listen to this, you definitely got to watch it.
Yeah.
I think YouTube is definitely the way to enjoy this show.
Dude, my shirt. Look. Where it says legend, it's got fucking wine on legend. Okay, I got a good one. I got a
Good to go.
good one. A Miami Zoo gorilla named Shango
Shango, good name.
got Shango got
Is
into
it
a nasty
related to
fight with his
Harambe in
brother.
any way?
Bro, Harambe. Well, maybe Harambe can go to Miami now since Shango is fucking got laid out. So he got into a nasty fight with his brother Barney. And he got fucked up. Shango got into a nasty fight with his brother Barney and got fucked up. So Barney beat his ass and then knocked him out.
Like unconscious?
Just in case someone was doubting if he won that fight. And as a safety precaution, he was taken to the hospital. Bro, and look, something Florida would only do. And for the hell of it, they tested him for corona. And he was negative.
Okay, that's
Nice. That's funny.
Florida. I love Florida. Florida's so fucking crazy. Disney World opened. You guys know that?
good. Florida does not give a fuck.
Good. Good, man.
Gotta love him.
He's
What was I
the
gonna
governor.
say?
The governor of Florida is best friends with Donald Trump.
Is he?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh. That's possible.
It's just so funny to me, like with Florida and Texas, the open criticism that is being given from New York and New Jersey. I told you this multiple times. They're like treating Florida and Texas like they're somehow more dangerous places to be than New Jersey and New York. It's like, motherfuckers, you guys essentially executed tens of thousands of seniors from the way that you handled this situation. And you're going to now suggest that like Florida and Texas, they're the bad guys. Like you guys fucked up. And now you're pretending because you know what it is everybody in Jersey and New York and stuff like wants shit to open and they're fucking pissed. And, we see these other places opening. We're like, yo, what the fuck? And they're like, oh, well, look, their fucking numbers are rising. Look at their numbers rising. It's like, dude, I don't care how much the numbers rise. We still killed 10,000 more people than them. Like, what are you talking about?
I don't understand the whole what are we waiting for? We're gonna hide until this thing goes away. Guess what? It's not going away.
It's not. It's definitely not.
Well, people will cite examples from other countries like Japan or fucking where is it? There was an island nation. I'm trying to remember. Not Australia. What's the other one? New Zealand. There's like, oh, they're like 0 cases per day. It's like, you really think there's 0 cases? Number one, and that there's not somebody with it that you just haven't tested.
They're just
right?
not testing people.
And number two, it's a fucking island.
Yeah.
Like it's not the same. It's not the same as a fucking land mass of the United States.
Population of 4 million.
Yeah,
Right.
and like let me ask you this: you think that once we start kind of kicking things back off, and they start kicking things back off, they're not going to eventually start getting cases again? It's historically, I'm not aware of a single time in history where we've ever eradicated a virus by staying indoors. You can slow it down, but it doesn't just disappear because you stay indoors.
No, that's the whole point. That's what I've been saying this whole time. It's like new cases are good. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. New cases without people dying, good thing. Like we need that. That's what herd immunity is.
Yeah.
Well, then they make all these arguments. They're trying to tell you like they're not sure if herd immunity is possible, and they don't think that like they're like, oh, well, some people have tested for antibodies and don't test for them again 8 weeks later. So like really you might not be. And dude, to me, that argument is even more of a reason to be like, let's fucking get back in there, because if you can't really be immune to it, what the fuck are we gonna do?
Right.
You
Then
know? Like we're just gonna hide away forever? That's insane.
we're just waiting for the vaccine. We can't sit here for 2 years and close everything down.
And we don't even know if 2 years from now we'll have one. How many years have certain viruses been around when we didn't have a vaccine? We can pour all our resources into it we might never have a useful vaccine. That's a reality, and some
Yeah,
people are
that's
not
true.
recognizing.
Gary, how's this? Is this time good for you?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I forgot to respond to you guys, but yeah, I wake up around 2, 3 in the morning every day here.
So, but this time right now, like, is this good to do another pod, like maybe Tuesday?
yeah.
All right, little bitches.
Yeah, I need to eat some dinner. I'm hungry.
I have to fucking clean up all this wine now.
Nice.
See you dickheads later.
Clean up that period blood, baby.
I
See you later.
See ya.
For no man, no man, no man, no
All right.
man, no
We'll call it a draw.
no man.
Just a flesh wound. Just a flesh wound. Just a flesh wound.